And welcome back to the Ready, Set, Hike Show! Chargers fans, let me start this evening off by giving a little praise to Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley. These guys have been killing it this offseason, and I just wanted to take a couple minutes to kind of discuss that a little further. Ever since Brandon Staley was hired as our coach, he's really set the standard by being aggressive and making this team exciting again and going for it on fourth down, not kicking the field goal, going for the touchdown. Not everyone agrees with that, but for me, it's really changed the environment on this team, especially coming from Anthony Lynn, who I felt like punted the ball on third down sometimes because he was so conservative. So I'm excited for what's to come. And then, boom, here we go into the free agencies and the offseason. And what does Tom Telesco do? He goes out and makes a big-time trade with the Bears and gets us Khalil Mack. And then free agency starts, and what happens? Boom. We signed J.C. Jackson. We signed Sebastian Joseph Day, Austin Johnson, Troy Reeder, DeAndre Carter, Josh Harris, and so many other great free agents. And I'm so excited for what's to come on this year. And then, boom, draft time. We go get a guy like Zion Johnson who can help anchor the offensive line, get a running back, Isaiah Spiller, a ball hawking safety, J.T. Woods, and then a couple other late-round picks that I think are going to be contributors to this roster as well. We're going into year 2 with Brandon Staley. I think this defense is going to get a whole lot better. I want to remind people that Brandon Staley was a part of the Bears, who had a top 5 defense when he was there. He was part of the Broncos, who had a top 5 defense. He was part of the Rams, who had the number 1 defense when he was there. This defense is going to get better. Our offense was already top 5 last year. So, guys, let's get excited. Let's talk about the Chargers going to the Super Bowl. There is a real chance of that happening this year, guys. And this is the first time in a long time that I can say as a Chargers fan that I thought that was actually going to happen. Now, don't get me wrong. There's been some years going into the season where I'm like, hey, we got a top 5 roster. We really have a shot at this. But every one of those years, it's kind of fizzled out. And we ended up 8-8, had a lot of injuries. Things just didn't pan out like I thought. But something feels a little bit different about this year. And it just has a lot, I think, to do with Justin Herbert and his abilities. And this coaching staff is making things exciting. Now that we talked about those guys, I want to kind of get into some of our draft picks from this year. I want to start by talking about the new running backs that we picked who are going to help complement Austin Eckler. All right, so let's get right into it with these running backs. We got Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M. We drafted him in the 4th round. He was projected to go kind of 2nd, 3rd round range. So I personally think this is a pretty good steal in the 4th round. He has a lot of, look, I'm not saying he's Alvin Kamara by any means, but he has a lot of similar traits coming out of college as what Alvin Kamara had. Kamara didn't run the fastest 40. I think he ran like a 4.56. We got Isaiah Spiller right in the 4.6 range. So there's not a huge difference there. They're both great receivers out of the backfield coming out of college. The other big plus for Isaiah Spiller is he's one of the best pass blocking running backs in college football this past season. So he started as a freshman day 1. He's always been their lead back since he came in as a freshman. He's played a lot of games with them. He's always had 1,200 plus yards per season, including rushing and receiving yards. So he's a multi-purpose back. A lot of people don't realize that when Alvin Kamara came into college football, he started at Alabama, and he didn't even make the roster. T.J. Yeldon actually started over him. So he had to, this is before the transfer portal, he actually had to leave Alabama and go to a junior college and then transfer back into at Tennessee at that point in time. Where even at Tennessee, he never had a 1,000-yard rushing season over his last 2 years. So we can't always judge a guy by their production in college. It's more based off of what we think they could turn into. Look, I wanted to talk a little bit more about this running back situation, too, for the Chargers. I don't know if people remember, but Joe Lombardi is the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, and he was a part of the Saints offensive staff for the longest time. And back in 2017, when Alvin Kamara came in as a rookie, that Saints offense, their running backs between Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram accounted for over 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, and they had 139 catches. So what I'm getting at is they want to throw the ball to their running backs in this offense. They want to be able to have 2 running back sets where we haven't been able to get to that part of this offense yet because we don't really have that second guy. Justin Jackson had some little moments where it looked like he could be that guy, but he was never healthy enough to stay on the field at the same time as Austin Eckler. And then Joshua Kelly never turned into anything. Larry Roundtree never really did anything last year either. So if Isaiah Spiller can be even a half of what Alvin Kamara was his rookie year, I think this will finally allow our offensive playbook to open up a little bit more and run some two running back formations. And I think based on what I saw the Saints did in 2017 when they had Kamara and Mark Ingram, they ran those two running backs quite often. So what I'm getting at is I think Isaiah Spiller can have a much bigger season than what people think. I think he could be one of the top rookie running backs in the league this year. And Austin Eckler still will get his touches too. 3,000 yards, that's a lot of yards. Both of them had over 1,500 yards. So I'm pretty excited to see what Isaiah Spiller brings to this backfield. And if he can turn into an Alvin Kamara type player his rookie season, I think the window is going to be quite amazing for what we can accomplish. Going into Zander Horvath. He's a fullback out of Purdue. And boy, man, this guy is strong as can be. He benched 225 pounds 31 times. I mean, he's just a monster. And the best comparable I can compare him to was Kyle Juszczyk plays for the 49ers. He came out of Harvard. There's a lot of similarities. Look, Kyle Juszczyk was 6'1", 235 pounds. Zander, 6'3", 230 pounds. They're both very similar. Zander ran a little bit faster 40 time. He ran a 4.57. Look, Zander's faster than Isaiah, and he's a lot bigger. So this guy is going to be one of those. I think he's going to play a little bit more of like what Steven Anderson did last year, kind of that H-back formation. But I do believe this kind of boots Gabe Neighbors off the team at the end of the day. I think this guy's kind of a freak of nature as far as his size and his ability. He has the ability to catch the ball. You can see him hurdling over defenders throughout the season. I really do believe he could be a Kyle Juszczyk type player. And let's just remember, Kyle Juszczyk didn't even play his entire rookie season when he was on the Baltimore Ravens team. So he had to grow into what he's become now. And I think based on their size and similarities, this could be a Kyle Juszczyk type player. I'm pretty excited about him in the 7th round, for us to get him in the 7th round. Let's move on and talk about the O-linemen that we drafted in the draft. These two running backs can't do anything without these guys in front of them blocking. So I think this next position is just as important too. All right, let's just jump right in it with these offensive linemen. Zion Johnson in the 1st round out of Boston College. Look, it's not everyone wanted to see this. A lot of people wanted us to draft that fancy wide receiver who had speed. But at the end of the day, I think this is the best position that helps our team immediately. I mean, this is going to be a day one starter. He improves our offensive line the second he was drafted. I love this pick for the Chargers and Zion Johnson. And the more I learn about him, the more I love the pick. I mean, he did an interview on Good Morning Football, and he really showed off his intelligence and his personality on there. He was a team captain for the Boston College, which shows his leadership ability. And one of the things he said on Good Morning Football that really impressed me was he was talking about playing the other positions because he played left tackle and center as well at Boston College. And what he said from that is it helped him become a better guard because it gave him a better understanding of what the center and the left tackle is looking for, which then in that helps him help those guys out more often. When he does his job, now he can kind of chip off and get into the other guy because he knows what the center and the left tackle are doing because he played those positions. And I thought that was kind of cool to hear because it kind of just shows his level of intelligence at that position. So I think this guy's going to be a monster and a potential all-pro moving forward. And this really helps solidify the offensive line. With Slater at left tackle, Filer at left guard, Corey Lindsey at center. We got now Zion Johnson at right guard. Now the big question mark, of course, is who's going to play right tackle. Is it going to be Pipkins? Are they going to go out and sign another free agent potentially? Who knows at this point? They still could potentially sign a free agent. To me, it kind of sounds like they're really planning on using Trey Pipkins as their right tackle from my understanding, from what I've read. It sounds like they're pretty excited about trying to get value out of him, considering they used their 3rd round pick a couple years ago on him. But watch out for this guy. Our 6th round pick, Jamaree Salyer. Look, in my mock draft, I had him going in the 3rd round, And I think a lot of people had him going that high. So for us to get him in the 6th round, I thought that was a steal in the draft. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. This is a guy who played left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. He was a team captain in Georgia who won the national championship. And if you watch the college championship series, when they played Michigan, he went up against a guy that I think a lot of people know named Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan, who went number 2 to the Detroit Lions, and he absolutely manhandled Aiden in that game and dominated him. So for this guy to drop all the way to the 6th round doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So he's a monster. I mean, look at it at bench press. I mean, him and Zion were the 2 strongest guys in the entire NFL Combine this year. Zion put up 32 reps. Salyer put up 31. So did our fullback, by the way, which is pretty impressive. So I just think this is another solid, whether he's a depth position or he winds up challenging for that. Maybe he plays the left guard position and move Filer out to right tackle in that case. So I think some things may happen during the training camp and whatnot. And if this guy impresses enough, which I think he can based on what he did at Georgia, we could see Filer playing out at right tackle. And I think a lot of Chargers fans would be a lot happier hearing Filer at right tackle than Trey Pipkins. But at the end of the day, I'm really happy with the offensive line and what we've done this offseason, because this all goes back to kind of what I discussed with the running back situation. I don't want to keep bringing up the Saints, but there's a lot of similarities to Joe Lombardi's offense and what Carmichael does, the offense coordinator for the Saints. And they built a very strong offensive line at the Saints. And I think you can see some of that same concept now here in the Chargers. You see a very strong offensive line. You got the 2 running backs now. I think hopefully Isaiah Spiller turns into that guy. I think the one thing that we have, though, that the Saints didn't have is we have 2 elite wide receivers. The Saints always had 1 and a couple guys who could come in and be playmakers as well, but we have 2. We have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, which really makes this offense super explosive. So I think these are great picks. I'm excited to see what happens moving forward in the season. This is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, please make sure to like the video and subscribe below. Bold up, guys. Woo-woo!